Good evening. This is Monica Mo Justice. And welcome to the Circle of Influence. Oh, darn. Gotta pull up the. I don't like this coming this way. I just remembered why not. Hey, Ty. I don't like this. You know what? This way. I just remembered why. All right. You tell me if you hear feedback. Wonderful, excellent. You got your channel back? I mean, you got that all straightened out? Oh, geez. Gee whiz-mo. Hey, Miss Veronica. Gigglesy, what's up? Well, Jazz. She said hit that like early before it gets started. Oh, you started over? Okay, no better time than the present. All right, don't ask me what I done did to my hair. I done went back to do the natural thing. And I went and got some conditioner, and I have now made me some plaits. So we'll see how this turns out in the morning. So I'll check y'all out at 7 a.m. with the reveal. That's it. I just want to turn down the sound on the fan. Driving me crazy. Now, isn't this crazy? The fan has a freaking remote control, and I keep the remote control on top of the fan. All right, well, we're going to get right into it because this is how we do it. I was reading an article today, a crisis entitled A Crisis of Deception. I won't read the small print. I did the twist. I didn't do the braids. I did the twist. Today. Hey, Miss Ryder. Hey, Angela Mills. How you feeling? How you holding up? It's so funny. The other day I was walking to the bus stop. So I wanted to walk to the other bus stop in the back because more of those buses run because they're en route to the train station opposed to mine. And there is a Catholic church over there. And the church was open at 8 o'clock in the morning. So I went in and I quickly lit a candle and said a prayer. I haven't been in a Catholic church in like, I don't know how many years, but that was all on my way to work. Came outside, and the bus was just sitting there, like it was waiting for me to come out the church. Amazing sauce. Okay. So again, the article is entitled A Crisis. Well, that's good to know. Be easy. A Crisis of Deception. In December 2013, whatever the girl's name is, we're going to call her DT, had a hunch that she might be pregnant. I went to apply for Medicaid, and they gave me a list of places I could go to get a free pregnancy test. Because obviously, if you don't have health insurance, you more than likely don't have a doctor, and more than likely you can't afford to pay for a blood test, she says. She was only 22 years old, a freshman majoring in psychology at Atlanta Metropolitan State College. On the list was a pregnancy pregnancy services center in Marietta, Georgia, which was located close to her home in the suburbs of Atlanta. Dewan, my boyfriend at the time, he's my husband now, looked them up online. We didn't see anything alarming. We called and scheduled an appointment for later that weekend. Rollins, that's DR or whatever, walked into a well lit facility with staff members in medical scrubs. She provided them with her medical records, her driver's license, her social security number, and a urine sample, and was immediately called in to see a counselor to talk about her pregnancy. She was given an ultrasound as well. Rollins believed the staff who served her, including the person who had conducted her ultrasound, had medical backgrounds. She was likely wrong. She assumed that they were there strictly to provide medical services. She was probably wrong about that too. Fake clinics. Rollins has since learned that she had entered one of the so called crisis pregnancy centers, or CPCs, which have been around since Roe v. Wade and are linked to deceptive efforts to confuse women who are seeking reproductive services such as prenatal care, birth control, and abortions. They may give a woman an ultrasound, but they also counsel her against abortion and, in some cases, even discourage birth control. Gotcha, DC, according to some reports. But by some estimates, there are nearly 3,000 of these fake clinics across the United States. So some guy from a pro-choice America's vice president of communications says these crisis centers are intentionally positioning themselves in or around Black neighborhoods. These are folks who often go into communities where there are high numbers of women of color, including Black women. They use billboards targeting Black women. Melissa Grant, Chief Operating Officer of Carafem, a nonprofit women's health care organization with clinics in Washington, D.C. and Atlanta, says some are buying advertising on Black television, and we know anti-choice organizations have used online target advertising where Black women and Latinas are clicking. Instead of working to address the full cadre of social issues surrounding unintended pregnancies, the CPCs are focused on eliminating options. That's not treating the problem. You can't isolate abortion from other social justice and human rights issues. Shame for sex. When she was 16, Jessica Estates walked into a birthright location in St. Louis, believing she'd be able to get a pregnancy test and medical help. Instead, instead, she says she found herself sitting opposite an older white woman who tried to humiliate her for having sex. At 16, I was carrying everybody's shame about the situation. I'm nervous and worried. She was an adult. I grew up in a family of Southern Baptists who converted to Catholicism. I respected adults. I didn't feel like I could say, I don't like what you are saying to me. I just sat there and let her berate me. Now 30, Estates is a statewide organizer of NARAL, a nonprofit that mobilizes to protect reproductive freedom. Estate says these places take advantage of women who are vulnerable moment during a vulnerable moment in their life, using deceptive websites and dishonest advertising. She often sees the ads on the side of buses or on billboards in Black neighborhoods where she lives. She also hears them on Black radio stations. They say we offer free ultrasound and free pregnancy tests and free health care. They ask things like, are you pregnant and scared? Is usually a woman on a billboard looking sad. They are advertising to people like me at age 16 who don't know what to do or where to turn. It's a great marketing plan and it works, she says. The problem is that they often don't provide what they advertise. In fact, according to the states, the staff is trained to deflect when women inquire about their reproductive health care option, a federal case. The ambiguity is at the heart of NIFLA versus Becerra, a U.S. Supreme Court case that began oral arguments on March 20th of this year. The National Institute of Family and Life Advocates, an anti-abortion organization that operates hundreds of CPS, is suing the state of California and Xavier Becerra, the state's attorney general, to stop the enforcement of the state's reproductive fact, which is a Freedom, Accountability, and Comprehension Care and Transparency Act. Many believe Justice Neil Gorsuch, the one that Trump picked, will rule in favor of the anti-abortion groups. According to the experts, the decision could set a precedent for women's rights for years to come. I came in for an ultrasound, and instead I was subjected to hours of invasive questions about my sexual and religious life. The California law was designed to prevent women from being deceived when searching for reproductive services. It mandates that facilities that provide family planning services make clear their stance on abortion and whether they have a licensed medical professional running the facility. It also requires full disclosure from the centers that advise that they provide a range of pregnancy-related services, including abortion, but are really there to encourage women to have their babies. Lawyers for the centers claim that California is forcing them to post disclosure signs that tell clinics abortion is an available option is a violation of freedom of speech. The CPCs argue that states' requirement has an unmistakable advocacy component, and it's forcing them to provide a message that goes totally against their purpose. In a statement on its website, NIFLA's president says thousands of centers have provided compassionate care to millions of vulnerable women run by pro-life nurses, doctors, and other employees, as well as volunteers. These privately funded organizations provide free ultrasounds, counseling, education, adoptions, maternity, housing, and more. According to Grant, taxpayers are also paying for these fake clinics. For example, she says the Department of Health and Human Services has diverted millions of dollars from family planning programs such as birth control services, breast exams, and STD testing, to abstinence programs in the crisis pregnancy centers. That's just one of the that's just on the federal level. According to Grant, states like Texas and Pennsylvania have poured a significant portion of their budgets into CPCs, which far outnumber abortion clinics. Grant says, for example, there are 79 CPCs in the state of Georgia and 13 abortion clinics there. Somebody else, an executive director someplace else of the Wright Counseling in St. Louis, says the 4 centers in the city are privately owned. We get no government money. We try to veer away from those fake clinics. We are not a medical clinic, and we make that clear. However, I am, and all of my counselors are licensed social workers. Back when Jessica States entered a birthright center, she claimed she had no reason to suspect she wasn't walking into a medical center. You walk in, and it looks like any other waiting room at any other clinic. They grabbed me to give them a urine sample. It wasn't until I was in the examination room alone with the older white woman that things started to get a little more intense. She didn't tell me right away that I wasn't pregnant. She just went on and on, kind of shaming me about being sexually active and not being married. When she was done with her rant, she told me, "You're not pregnant." But the state was. It could have been that it was too early for them to know. It could have been a false negative. It could have been that they lied to me. I am never going to know. Ultimately, she went on to have her son, who is now 14. We hate to hear someone felt deceived coming to birthright. We make clear we don't do abortions. We tell them, if you want to go through with your pregnancy, we are here. We have resources. We are the opposite side of choice. Dangerous situations. Who runs both a large medical practice and a health clinic that offers abortions in Alabama? Says notice the states that are involved in this conversation here. Says the CPCs are so integrated into the medical system that patients often believe they have to get referrals from them before coming to see them. She didn't tell me right away that I wasn't pregnant. She just went on and on, kind of shaming me about being sexually active and not being married. That is the craziest thing I could ever heard. The CPC's goal is to capture these abortion-minded people. So if that means they will have to lie, then they will do that. Although some crisis pregnancy centers hire legitimate medical experts, many do not, which can create a big problem when counselors at the clinics don't have medical training. A woman can get misinformation such as incorrect due dates, which will delay visits with the prenatal doctor. Some are told that they are not pregnant at all and that they are earlier than they really are and must come back over and over. This can be dangerous to a woman because most are not aware that these are not real clinics. They may think these visits count as prenatal care. The centers can get away with it because they are practicing free speech and offering free services. In a letter to state legislators, Dorcia Rollins, that's the first lady in the article, who is now 26, explained that the deception was more than frustrating for her. She believes it was fatal to her unborn child. Although Rollins and her boyfriend told the counselor at the center they wanted to keep their child if they were pregnant, the counselor spent hours trying to persuade them not to get an abortion, scolding them about their sex life and their lack of religion, and trying to persuade them to get married. Look at my face. I came in for an ultrasound, but instead, I was subjected to hours of invasive questions about my sexual and religious life. Instead of being told about prenatal care, I received hours of hurtful comments about how my loving boyfriend, who the fuck stays in the clinic for hours when you just not sitting in the waiting room? I received hours of hurtful comments about how my loving boyfriend could never be a good father unless he had the same religious beliefs as the people in the center. We ended up leaving crushed and frustrated. We both respected the counselor's religious beliefs, but I was there for medical care and medical care only. And I am hurt and angered by the fact that convincing my boyfriend to attend church was more important to her than making sure I had the information I needed to have a healthy pregnancy and a healthy baby. And the consequences of that were fatal. Before leaving the clinic, Rollins was given an ultrasound and was then told she was in the earliest stages of her pregnancy. 2 months later, she visited a doctor who told her she was actually much further along. Rollins began cramping and bleeding at work. She called her doctor, who told her to head to a nearby hospital. I found out that day that I had an incompetent cervix. But because I came to him later than normal due to misinformation I received earlier in my pregnancy, I did not have the proper procedure to confirm his condition and treat it, resulting in the loss of my baby. His name would have been Noah. Rollins tried to forget what happened. I was sad about it for a long time and I just let it go. I was in the middle of midterms and I just tried not to think about it again. She doesn't know if she or her husband will ever get over the loss or the deception. My friends ask, "Do you think that is why you are afraid to have a baby now?" And it totally is. We have been told, we have been trying to make sure everything is perfect, that our health is perfect, that we have health insurance. Plenty of our friends say people can get pregnant at any time. You shouldn't worry too much. But I need to worry. I need to be sure of the doctor. I need to make sure I never go to one of those places again. This was a crazy article. What are your thoughts? I see everybody saying, wow, like, yeah, that's what I said. Like, when I was reading it, I was like, I was interested, of course, because of the Supreme Court case, which I guess maybe we'll just follow it here. I am Monica Mo Justice, so it might be one of those that I would be interested in. I'm definitely like I hate to say like I'm pro-choice, but I'm pro-choice. Like whatever decisions you want to make with your body, your things. I mean, if we could run around here and be trisexuals and try anybody's sex, and that's okay. And people can change their sex to be anything that they want to be or believe that they are and was hiding behind something. Who am I to tell somebody what they can and cannot do with their own body? So I would have to just say I'm pro-choice. Like I never even really thought about it. I know I did an article about. I know I did a debate once in junior high school about abortion, and I didn't do very good on that debate. And I think it's because I wasn't even it wasn't things talked about in my house. Abortion was not a conversation that you just walked up to my mother and had, especially when you had all of the foster kids inside the house. Apparently, nobody was practicing abortion techniques because there was a lot of kids around. So it wasn't one of those things that you just had a conversation about. It was our livelihood, kind of, sort of. So it's just interesting. Totally interesting. Of course, I'm going to watch the court case and make sure this wasn't one that was decided in June right before the court ended their term. Tomorrow I have a poem for y'all in the morning, because building your platform requires work, investment. Good evening, Nikki C. Oh, let me see who I missed. Hey, Giggle C. We got all these C's in the house. Big Steezy, how you doing, Miss Coleman? What's up? And cousin Shotties. So a very interesting article. I got it out of Essence magazine. So this is the July Essence magazine. Why in some states there are more abortion clinics than hospitals. I think it depends on which state we're talking about. If you're a red state or a blue state, you're going to have different outcomes, different resources available to women or not available to women. But I think it's just fair to say you're going to have different resources available to women. So if here, this is an alternative resource available to women that I never even heard of before. But remember, I live up north in the New York area and New Jersey area where choice is rampant. So these type of clinics may not be able to thrive here. In states wherein they're more religious based or they're more Republican in nature, you probably will see more of these CPCs. Oh, I'll be wrapping up in the next 5-10 minutes and full steam ahead. Or you could even start now. I'm just in the wrap up phase, which is commenting on the article, and then I will be over in Nikki C's. I'm too old for those 8-hour lives in the rambling room. Y'all, it's a hot mess. But I heard y'all was rambling, baby. I think this would be a good case to follow in terms of to see what happens in the court, only because I think that the nature, it's not my poem, it's someone else. Hey, Sky's the Limit. I just feel Queen K Money, welcome. Wonderful Excellence, you're back. Tony Last, what's up? I feel like this is a good case to watch because women are getting misinformation. And, we'll call it deceptive for now. But in the hopes that they will keep the pregnancy. But what happens, like in the case of this young lady where she wanted to keep the baby, and because they got misinformation, it prevented her from getting the appropriate medical care. And without the appropriate medical care, she ended up losing the child. Or it may have contributed to her losing the child, because it doesn't sound like they definitively state that she did, because then she would have a lawsuit here. And I don't see that coming out. And I don't even see a threat of that. Doesn't even sound like a threat of that inside the article. But at the end of the day, we have to be very vigilant. Two things come to mind with this. At first, when I read the creepy part of the story, when I was reading the creepiness of the story, I started thinking about the organ donor situation again, and I was like, how easy is it for these people to put together these type of clinics? What other kind of clinics are out there deceptively bringing us in, targeting the African American community, people of color, to get their medical makeup? So I found this extremely creepy, and it just made me think along those lines. And I was saying to myself, that is crazy. That is just batshit crazy. Um, so it'd be nice. It would be nice. It would be a nice something to look into, because I'm just like, wow. What was the other part of it? And the second part of it is just to figure out, we as women must, so let me just say it two ways. As women, we need to be proactive, and as men who support the rights of women need to be equally proactive and stand up for our right to make decisions. Period. End of story. And those decisions also include our right to be independent. And it's hard when you hear male rhetoric out there that says, if a woman makes a statement like, oh, let's say, I don't need a man. You're offended. We are standing for our rights to make our own decisions, to make our own money, and to be accountable to ourselves. One needs to identify when you just don't know what the hell you're talking about. And that's it. This article here is important because it sounds like some people know what their intentions are, and they're hoping that you are naive or so stressed out that you're vulnerable enough to just listen. The undertones here was the religious background. And in the United States of America, the one thing we have between government is separation of religion and government. This right here is all shady all over the place. But I'm going to tell you about that Bible toting group of people again. This is what they do. They take you at your weakest moment and try to manipulate the situation. You hear that all in the article. It is just crazy. And we see it in our everyday lives. We encounter it here on the YouTube. You're encountering it in your daily life. The influence those folks have is overwhelming. And they feel like they have a right to do it because some higher person told them to. Like, it just be, it'd be killing me. It just be killing me. So not only do we now have men telling us we don't have a right to not want them, need them, or have any say with them, we also get told that we should not have any choice over what we do with our own bodies, but we shouldn't do this stuff with our bodies, but you want to do this stuff with your body. Craziness. And last but not least, you have the religious element always trying to dictate their beliefs on you. And it's more than dictate, it's infringe their thoughts upon you. It's, the same way I respect someone's right to have a religion and to have a belief. I just feel that there has to be a fine line where that freedom of speech encroaches on someone else's right to live. Because although they may be advocating for the unborn child's right to be here, in that case of that young lady, there was no regard to her life. And she is already here. Anyway, those are my thoughts on the subject. Any thoughts that you'd like to share on your part, influences? Any thoughts in respect to what you may want to see here again, a follow-up in this discussion, if any? I know I'm going to watch the case to see what happens. But those are my opinions. And, in full disclaimer, this is still part of fair use. It was educational. And the opinions here are that of Monica Mo Justice, based on the article that she read and my own personal beliefs. Yes, the question was, don't we, or the statement, don't we as strong women have the right to decide for ourselves what rights for ourselves? Not only do we have that as strong women, we just have that as just being woman. Straight up, just as being a woman, we have a right to our choice. Just like man has a right to his choice, we as women have a right to our choice. There are a lot of statistics out there that say men don't go to the doctor. Men don't, especially African, men of color, they don't seek medical help until it's too late. So they have their own issues with maybe it's that whole grab the balls and cough thing. But they have their own issues with going to the doctor. How can I entrust, hey Katrina, how can I entrust my health care to someone else? It's crazy. I was just about to write Victoria's Secrets and tell her they need to make some bras with just like not this freaking wire thing that's over in this corner. Because after a couple of whatever, the damn bra, it's be like all in you. But I just know that darn Victoria's Secret guy is a guy. Like the person that invented the zipper on the back of the dress. Like, these are all choices men make for us. We need to have a zipper on the side. Like, it's, that's me just ranting and raving. Monica, is this the same kind of perspective of what they're trying to do with our entire government? Want a one dictatorship world? Big Steezy, I hate to tell you this. Since we got Trump in office, since Trump came to office, and so my trade-off this year, because the Kanika case was so overwhelming from September on, equally combated with Trump, I gave up Trump. I have no idea what the fool is doing. All I know is that in the next coming months, I will vote because it's 2016. It's 2018. I will do whatever vote I need to do. And then my next steps will definitely be to look into how to get rid of him and how to get out the vote, rock the vote for 2020. I think that a woman should do what she needs to do with her body. So that's a very broad question. Wonderful, excellent. When they say father, say no. What father? What age? Because there comes a point in some states where you don't have. There's a limit because you have parents. Parent rights supersede the child's right. But my thing is, why are they having sex anyway, where they have to ask their father permission to have an abortion? I don't know nothing about Planned Parenthood in New York because I've never been. To be quite honest, I never even seen one. So y'all would have to tell me where it's at. And that is not a road trip I'm gonna be going on looking for Planned Parenthood. I mean, I did know growing up where Choices was because I've been in there a zillion times with a zillion people because they don't let you go in there by yourself. So I've been a chaperone. I've been a designated driver and a chaperone for a lot of shit. But the Russians could have a whole bunch of plans, to be quite honest. And from what I last recall seeing with this guy in office, is that they were still investigating if they were consorting with them. So I'm waiting to see the findings. I'm sure as soon as the findings come on that they were doing whatever it was um, with the Russians, we'll know. I did see, though, a thing this morning that he's in London and he was stepped in front of the Queen. So I saw a bunch of memes on that. Good night, Queen K Money. I will see you guys later. Wonderful, excellent. Thank you for coming back. I appreciate all of you. Remember to hit the like button. Uh, Amazing source. I read an article. That's all. An article. And the hate is still great. Lottie. Toddy. Stay blessed. I'm going to go ahead and call my mother. Thank you, Big CZ. Wow. This is a very interesting situation here. And I think it requires a deeper dive. So I'll see what kind of research I can indulge into. Um, See what else is going on along these lines, and we'll just choke this up to more to come on the topic. You seem interested. I know I'm definitely curious. So we'll just revisit this at a later date. Anyway, I'll see you in the AM. Again, I have a poem. It's not my poem. I don't do poetry, but I selected one. It's really short and sweet, but it has a note. It has more meaning. And then I will be back tomorrow night to do a review on a book that I should have done a long time ago, but now we have another shooting. So it's probably a good time for it to come out now. And it sounds like from my research now, it's got a screenplay coming out afterwards. Okay? So, and if you can't catch me Monday night, I will be back on Wednesday night. And Wednesday night, I'll be doing a review of the notorious RBG. Anyway, this is Mo, and I got to go.